The town felt off, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. People smiled, went about their routines, but a shadow lingered in their eyes. The mailman swore he saw a figure standing at the edge of the woods, watching him. A mother pushing her child on the swing set felt a chill run down her spine. Even the sunshine seemed less bright. The laughter of children a touch too high-pitched. A collective holding of breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But what that shoe was, no one could say. It began with whispers, fleeting glimpses at the periphery of vision, a figure standing silently at the edge of the crowd at the town fair. Another lurking at the back of the movie theater, unmoving. They were always masked, their faces obscured by grotesque visages. Some were beautiful, hauntingly so. Others were twisted and nightmarish, each one unique, each one unsettling. They never spoke, never moved from their positions. They simply watched, their eyes, visible through the slits in the masks, seemed to bore into you. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. The air crackled with anticipation. The smell of popcorn and cut grass hung heavy. Cheers erupted as the home team took the field.
Sarah sat with her friends, their laughter a familiar comfort. But beneath the surface, a current of unease ran through her.
Even the usual excitement of the game felt muted. The cheers a little too forced. Something was off.
Her gaze drifted towards the edge of the field, past the rows of spectators to the tree line beyond. That's when she saw it. A figure stood at the edge of the woods, tall and slender, draped in a dark cloak. The moonlight glinted off something on its face. A mask. It was beautiful, in a haunting, ethereal way. Empty sockets that seemed to stare right through her. I tried to shake off the feeling, told myself it was just my imagination. But every time I looked back, the figure was still there, watching. Its gaze never wavered, never strayed. It was as if it knew me. Saw through my facade to the secrets I kept hidden deep inside. Fear, cold and sharp, began to claw its way up my throat. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silence of my fear.
The game continued, oblivious to the terror that had taken root in Sarah's heart. The crowd roared, players collided, but she could only see the figure. It stood there unmoving throughout the entire game, a silent sentinel, its presence a chilling reminder that something was wrong. When the final whistle blew, Sarah felt a surge of relief mixed with a lingering sense of dread. The figure was gone, vanished as silently as it had appeared, but the encounter left an indelible mark on her soul. It was a Saturday afternoon when Sarah witnessed something that chilled her to the bone. She was walking home from the library with her friends, their usual banter subdued, when they rounded the corner onto Main Street. The town square, usually bustling with activity, was eerily deserted. And in the center, arranged in a perfect circle, stood a group of the masked figures.
They were utterly still, their grotesque visages illuminated by the streetlights. The sight sent a jolt of terror through Sarah.
What were they waiting for? What would happen when they finally moved?
The rumors started circulating like wildfire, whispers carried on the wind. People swore they had seen a man, an artist, who lived on the outskirts of town, creating masks that were identical to those worn by the figures. Desperate for answers, Sarah and her friends decided to investigate. They drove out to the artist's studio, a dilapidated cabin nestled deep in the woods.
The artist, a gaunt, haunted-looking man with eyes that seemed to see too much, denied any involvement with the masked figures, but his denials were unconvincing, his words laced with an underlying current of fear.
He knew more than he was letting on.
Fear, like a virus, had infected the town. It seeped into every crack and crevice, poisoning relationships, turning neighbor against neighbor. People started seeing masked figures everywhere, their minds playing tricks on them, their fear fueling their paranoia. Sarah felt increasingly isolated.
She couldn't shake the feeling that the masked figures were watching her, that they were somehow aware of her every move.
And the worst part was she had no idea how to stop it.
Sleep, once a sanctuary, had become my tormentor. Night after night, the masked figures invaded my dreams. Their painted faces, grotesque and strangely beautiful, leered at me from the shadows. They whispered my name, their voices a chorus of rustling leaves and hissing whispers.
She would wake with a gasp, her heart pounding against her ribs, the remnants of the nightmare clinging to her like cobwebs. The line between dreams and reality blurred, leaving her with a persistent sense of dread. The masked figures were no longer confined to the waking world.
The first disappearance sent shockwaves through the already terrified town. Old Mrs. Henderson, who lived at the end of Maple Street, vanished without a trace. Her front door stood ajar, a half-eaten meal on the table, but of the old woman, there was no sign.
Then it was Mr. Thompson, the owner of the local hardware store. He was last seen locking up shop one evening, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a haunted look. By morning, he was gone, his shop empty, his truck abandoned on a deserted stretch of highway.
Fear, thick and suffocating, descended upon the town. The whispers started, blaming the masked figures, linking their presence to the disappearances.
I found the note tucked beneath the windshield wiper of my car. It was a small, square piece of parchment, the edges singed, the handwriting a spidery scrawl. "They are the keepers," it read, "the collectors of secrets, the ushers of the unseen. The masks hide their faces, but their eyes see all. They are coming for you, Sarah. They are coming for us all."
The note was unsigned, its origins unknown, but it sent a shiver down Sarah's spine.
Driven by a mixture of fear and a desperate need for answers, I followed a trail of clues gleaned from the cryptic note. It led me to a clearing deep in the woods, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth.
In the center of the clearing, bathed in the ethereal glow of the moon, stood a group of masked figures. They were taller than she remembered, their movements fluid and graceful, their silence more menacing than any sound.
As I stepped into the clearing, the figures turned towards me in unison. Their masked faces offered no greeting, no hint of emotion, but their eyes, visible through the slits in the masks, burned with an ancient, knowing light.
It was a look that spoke of power, of secrets too terrible to comprehend. The clearing pulsed with an unseen energy. A low hum vibrated through the air, resonating deep in Sarah's bones. The masked figures moved with a synchronized grace, their movements part of an intricate dance.
A pyre blazed at the center of the clearing, casting flickering shadows that danced upon the surrounding trees. The flames roared, yet gave off no heat, their light an unnatural, ethereal blue.
A low chanting began, a guttural sound that seemed to rise from the earth itself. It wove its way around Sarah, wrapping her in a cocoon of sound. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, yet a strange sense of awe kept her rooted to the spot. As Sarah watched the ritual unfold, the words from the note echoed in her mind. The keepers, the collectors of secrets, the ushers of the unseen.
The masked figures were no longer simply terrifying apparitions. They were something more. Guardians, perhaps, of a realm beyond human comprehension.
But what was this darkness that threatened to consume them all? The chanting intensified, reaching a fever pitch. The air crackled with static electricity. The flames of the pyre leaped higher, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to writhe and beckon.
I felt a shift in reality. The forest around me wavered, trees blurring at the edges. The night sky swirled above, stars melting into streaks of color.
Through the thinning veil, she glimpsed another world, a realm of impossible beauty and terrifying grandeur. The chanting ceased, the flames died down, leaving behind a smoldering pit and an eerie silence. The masked figures turned in unison, their gazes fixing upon Sarah. One of the figures stepped forward, its mask a swirling vortex of colors. It raised its hand and with a slow, deliberate motion, removed its mask.
The face beneath was neither monstrous nor human. It was a tapestry of light and shadow, constantly shifting, defying definition. Yet I sensed a strange familiarity in its depths.
The veil thins, the figure spoke, its voice a chorus of whispers, both beautiful and chilling. The darkness encroaches. You stand at the precipice, child. Choose your path.
A choice, to embrace the unknown, to step beyond the veil and into the heart of the mystery.
Sarah stood, frozen, caught in the crosshairs of destiny. The weight of the choice pressed down on her, suffocating her. One path offered a terrifying unknown, a leap into the abyss. The other, a life forever haunted by the shadows she now knew were real. The masked figures watched her, their silence more unnerving than any threat.
The air crackled with unseen energy, a tangible manifestation of the power that pulsed around me. It was the hum of the universe, the symphony of creation and destruction, and I, a tiny, insignificant being, was caught in its midst.
Fear, cold and sharp, threatened to consume her. The figure without a mask, its face a swirling canvas of light and shadow, took a step closer. Its eyes, devoid of pupils, seemed to see into the depths of her soul, reflecting back a hidden truth.
"You are not like the others," it whispered, its voice a symphony of whispers, ancient and knowing. "The blood that flows in your veins sings with the echoes of the past. A legacy forgotten, yet woven into the very fabric of your being."
Sarah's mind reeled. Legacy? What could this creature possibly know of her past, of her family history? It was absurd, impossible. And yet a tremor of recognition ran through her, a distant echo of something forgotten.
Your ancestors walked between worlds, the figure continued, its voice both seductive and chilling. They guarded the balance, kept the darkness at bay.
The figure extended its hand, offering Sarah a mask. It was unlike the others, not grotesque or menacing. This mask was elegant, beautiful even, crafted from polished obsidian that shimmered under the ethereal glow of the clearing.
Embrace your destiny, the figure whispered, its voice a siren song in the stillness of the pre-dawn light. Take up the mantle, become one of us, protect the balance.
The mask pulsed with an inner light, beckoning Sarah, promising a truth beyond human comprehension. She could feel its power thrumming against her skin, calling to something deep within her soul. To accept meant stepping into a world beyond her wildest imaginings, a world of ancient power and impossible truths. It meant leaving behind everything she knew, everyone she loved. To refuse meant condemning herself to a life half-lived, forever haunted by the glimpses she had been granted, the knowledge she could never unlearn. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the canopy, painting the clearing in hues of rose and gold, Sarah made her decision. The world held its breath, the very air thick with anticipation. The masked figures, bathed in the soft light of the rising sun, seemed to shift, their forms less defined, their menace replaced by an air of solemn expectation.
The figure without a mask watched her, its expression unreadable. It had offered her a choice, a chance to embrace her destiny. Now it was time to face the consequences.
The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, tethered to the decision of a young woman caught between the familiar and the unknown. And as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the clearing, Sarah made her choice. Sarah took the mask with a deep breath. A jolt of energy surged through her as she touched its cool, obsidian surface. The clearing swirled around her in the golden light. Trees twisted into impossible shapes. Masked figures stepped back, blending into the landscape. The mask pressed against her face. She felt a perfect fit. It revealed her inner power, and then silence. The swirling vortex receded, leaving profound stillness. Sarah stood tall, the obsidian mask reflecting her newfound power. The masked figures moved then, their forms solidifying, their silence no longer ominous, but welcoming. They surrounded Sarah, their gazes filled with ancient wisdom and solemn acceptance. She was one of them now, a guardian of the balance. The clearing felt like a homecoming. The whispers of the wind through the trees sounded like greetings, the rustle of leaves underfoot, a symphony of belonging. As she stepped forward, joining the other figures, the first rays of the rising sun illuminated the obsidian mask, reflecting fierce beauty, a testament to the power in embracing the unknown. Sarah, now a silhouette against the dawning sky, disappeared into the forest, leaving behind the echoes of the life she once knew, stepping into a world of shadows and secrets, a guardian of the delicate balance between worlds. The town, bathed in the normalcy of a new day, would never know the truth.